This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get us any.
That off there. Good evening. Welcome to National Professional Streaming Sports. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, the J Train. James in with me tonight. As always, on every Wednesday night, he's always in with me now. Later on, we'll be having Keith Angle coming in with us, Sonia Pearson from Prim and Proper, and we might see CJ. We'll see if we have a sighting of CJ tonight. Good evening, everybody. Glad you're with us. James, how you doing, my friend?
Mac, I'm doing wonderful in this Wednesday evening. Man, it's nice outside. I like to be outside. I went fishing yesterday and didn't catch anything, but I still enjoy the weather. How are you doing?
All right. I'm doing good. I haven't fished in a long time. I would cast my line, crack a beer, and hope the fish didn't bother me. And, if I caught one, great. If I didn't, that's fine too. So, anyway, we've got some NBA playoffs to talk about. Really, the semifinal, the Eastern semifinal. And Indiana's there. They have it. There's a minute so. They got the game. They got the ball. All they got to do is run out the clock, make them foul them, whatever they had to do. Pacers are up 1-0. Instead, from the corner, Jaylen Brown hits a huge three-point shot, puts it in overtime. Celtics win. James, this was Indiana's chance to make a statement, to go up 1-0, and maybe have a shot at winning the series. It's not over by any means, but man, it's going to be hard to beat the Celtics 4 in a row.
Well, this may be a sign of what's to come. I mean, we may be looking at a 7-game series here. We're looking at all teams, everybody, the whole starting lineup. We're in regards to the Celtics. In regards to the Pacers, we're in double digits. So I don't know how that's going to work the next game, if they're going to be like that. But I don't look at the Celtics. I'm not afraid of the Celtics, to be honest with you. I think if the Pacers can play their game the way they played the first game, they have a shot. They have a shot. Like you said, it came down to one shot, and you have stars on the team that are capable of making that shot. But they had an opportunity to steal one. But we will see what happens next game. I like the Pacers' chances, but I still think that the Celtics are going to come out with the East.
I think everybody agrees with it. They're the odds-on favorite to win even the championship this year. We'll see if that happens or not. But Tatum comes in the fourth quarter and in the overtime. Tatum racks up 36 points, 12 rebounds. Drew Holiday, big game, 28 points. Brown with his 26. As you said, the Indiana Pacers put everybody in double digits. The Indiana Pacers offense has never been the problem. It's their defense. And the Celtics have a very good defense. I think they kind of, at the end of the game, they showed up. They forced some turnovers, but they didn't play a defensive game like they normally do, James. So Pacers have got to play better on defense. They can't beat themselves in turnovers if they want a chance to beat Boston and Boston. Who knows?
Right. Well, they're not really good on defensively on the perimeter. I think Miles Turner has been doing really well holding it down in the trenches. But other than that, I just don't see – I mean, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, that's just a really tough tandem to defend. I mean, and the guy, what's the bald guy? I can't think of his name. The kid,
Hoffner or Hoffer or something like that.
No, for Boston, he can light it up from three as well. I mean, you just got to really again, like you said, you saw the score 133 to 128. So offensively, nobody's playing defense here on either side. So I think it's going to come down to whether or not somebody just buckled down on either team. That's why I can see this going 7, because it looks like the first game like can go either way. I think the Pacers can push 7 as long as Halliburton and his guys are. Who else they have? Buddy Hield. Is Buddy Hield on the team too as well? Yeah, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. Yeah, as long as they can put up some really big points, I think that they'll hold their own. But I still see Boston coming out.
Well, Sickham's another player on there that's a good player for.
Yeah, Pascal Siakam. Yes, yeah. Exactly. And he's going to give you mid-range shooting. He's not a good three-point shooter, but man, he could tear it up on the inside. And so they really have a good chance. I think they match up well against both teams, because neither team's really known for defense. They're both offensive teams. I think the biggest two-way player for Boston is the one that scored 28 points. We're talking. I can't think of my guy's name.
I hear you. You're having problems with names today. You're probably talking about
Jrue Holiday.
Jrue Holiday, right?
Yes.
So we got CJ the Painkiller backstage. He's coming in today. I'm glad he could make it in. CJ, good evening. How you doing today?
What's going on, gentlemen? Good to be here.
What's up, CJ?
Yeah. We're talking a little Boston Celtic basketball. Listen, James thinks Indiana has the shot against Boston. He thinks they match up good. I'm not as optimistic as James is. I don't think Indiana is as good as Boston. I think Boston has more star power. They don't even have Porzingis playing, and they still won. So, what are your thoughts on Boston versus Indiana, CJ?
You know what? After some of the highlights that I saw last night, I'm sorry, but Boston is not as overpowering and not as dominant as people seem to think. And I think the Pacers are going to give the Boston Celtics a run for their money. And if I could just say, if the Knicks would have advanced, the Knicks would be smacking the Celtics around too, because I'm just not buying into the whole, the Boston Celtics are destined for another NBA title. It's not what I saw last night. I did not see a dominant performance, regardless of injuries, regardless of issues or whatever. I did not see a dominant performance from a Boston Celtics team that all we heard about from the start of the playoffs is how Boston's going to run through everything. You may as well just pencil them into the NBA Finals right now. I did not see that last night.
Well, here's where I disagree with you. Boston had a few days. They're off. They're a little rusty. They didn't play a game. Indiana comes off a tough series against the Knicks. They won 7 games. This was the game they had to win, and they didn't win, CJ. This is a game where they were firing on all cylinders. They had all the emotions from the series with the Knicks. This was the game for them to steal. They didn't do it. They turned the ball over. They had the ball with whatever it was, hardly any time left. All they had to do was run out the clock, get fouled, whatever. They didn't do that. They turned the ball over, gave Boston a chance. They tie the game. I still think the Boston's are the best team in the East by far. I don't think Indiana matches up with them well. They're a good offensive team, CJ, but they aren't a good defensive team.
Well, I have to agree with you there, but here's the thing. We'll revisit this. We'll revisit this after Game 2 and Game 3 next Wednesday when we convene. We're going to have a conversation about it because we'll have a couple of games under the belt, a little bit more of a sample size to be able to kind of digest and break down into a fine powder. But from what I saw on the highlights, Boston did not look like a dominant team. They looked very disinterested. And I don't give a damn how many days off or rest you have. You should be watching film. You should be practicing. You should be getting ready. They should have been ready to come out and to absolutely just put their stamp on the Eastern Conference Finals last night. To me, in a Game 1, all right, where basically it looked like, again, I didn't watch the game. I really don't follow the NBA. The only reason that I even follow the NBA is to actually have something to talk about on the show. I'm going to be honest. Okay. But, from the highlights and everything that I've read and everything that I've listened to today on sports radio, I'm not the only person who feels the same way that I did, that I do right now. That Boston basically sleptwalked their way, and they were lucky to get out of game one with a win.
Well, I'll tell you, I'd be scared if Boston sleptwalk and beat me anyway. I'd be scared about that. Good evening, Rick. Glad that you could make it in today. If Boston loses, guys, James, if Boston loses, is it a failure? If they don't win the championship, if they get the championship, fine. I think they will. If they lose the championship, is it a failure for Boston this year?
Considering you're the best team, yes. I mean, you're all the hype that's backed you up. I mean, the best record on your side, you know, and you got a team. You've gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. Jason Tatum, what, the last 5 years, or 5 years or so? Yeah, and so yes, it would be a bust. It's like the time when Andy Reid was the coach of the Eagles, and they went to 4 straight NFC championships and lost them, and finally went to a Super Bowl and lost that. So it's eventually, I mean, you're the favorite to win everything, and it just doesn't happen. So yes, it's a failure. I don't know what happens after that. I guess you keep the same amount of team and make an adjustment, I believe. But yes, it would seemingly be a big time failure.
Good evening, Rick. Glad to have you aboard tonight. CJ, if Indiana loses the series, is it a good season or is it a failure also?
I think for Indiana, if they end up losing this series as far as they got, I wouldn't look at this as a failure. I would look at this as a success, and I would actually look at this as something that they could build toward the future. I mean, to me, it was, you know, from everything that I've read and everything that I've heard so far, Indiana shouldn't have even made it out of the first round. So for the fact that they're in the Eastern Conference Finals right now, playing against the best team in the East, you know, that says a lot to be said. So, I mean, granted, I understand you don't give out championships for moral victories, but if you're looking to build competitive sustainability, this is the way that you do it.
I would agree with that. Wembanyama, not only did Wemby make the all-rookie team, he was named to the all-defensive team with Rudy Gobert as one of his teammates. This guy, you know, his first season in the NBA shows what he's got. Imagine him in season 3, 4, once he starts maturing. I'm telling you, Wembanyama, I don't know if he'll be as good as Michael Jordan or as LeBron James, but he definitely has a chance to make the Hall of Fame, James, as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a mismatch for everybody, both offensively and defensively. And he does things that makes you scratch your head because you're looking at the type of player this is and his wingspan, his height, what he can do, shoot for the 3-point range, everything. He does almost, and he can dribble up the court as if like he's a point guard, but he's 7'4". It's just impressive. Yeah, I think he was just gifted. He's an anomaly. You don't see anybody like that. You don't see, you know, someone his height, his size, his skill, do the things that he does and not make the Hall of Fame at some point. If he stays, barring no major injury, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, first ballot. And he's already breaking records by being the first rookie to be an all NBA defensive team. It's impressive.
Right. I was talking to CJ before the show. I mean, to James before the show, CJ, and I read a little thing about Dillon Brooks. Now, LeBron James, if he's playing against the team with Dillon Brooks on him, Dillon Brooks normally ends up playing him. He tries to get in his head. He irritates him. He does a lot of things. So LeBron James, say 5 years after he retires, they start talking about his legacy, what he did, what a great player he was. Dillon Brooks is going to get mentioned just because he's the villain in this story here. So Dillon Brooks, by hooking his wagon, of, if you could call it that, to LeBron James off court, on court, kind of has cemented a legacy in the LeBron James story.
Yeah, I agree. See, here's the thing. I think it's too early It's too early to compare this player to LeBron James or to Michael Jordan or to anyone. Okay. I just think it's too early. And I understand that there's hype behind it. And good evening, Sonia.
Hi.
I understand that there's a lot of hype behind it. And everyone wants to get excited about this new player who's getting ready to play in the NBA. And everybody wants to get behind it. It's like, can we stop already with the comparisons to Michael Jordan, to LeBron James, to whoever? Insert whatever NBA athlete you want to put in there. Walt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, whoever. Can we stop with the comparisons to other NBA greats and stop putting so much pressure on these young guys that are coming in and let them establish their own identities? Let them carve out their own niche in the NBA. There is nothing that aggravates me more than the absolute pissing contest that goes on between who's LeBron versus MJ, this one versus that one. Enough. The game of basketball has revolutionized and evolved so much over the past 30 years that it is almost impossible to be able to compare Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Pistol Pete and Wilt Chamberlain and Willis Reed to the people that are playing today. Why? Because the game has changed. Can we just can we sit back as sports fans, as analysts, as broadcasters, and just admire history? Admire it.
All right. Good evening to Sonia from Prim and Proper Sports. Sonia, how you doing tonight? Listen, CJ's upset. I'm sorry, but I've been listening to this for years. They're always going to compare new players to old players. Why should we be easier on Wembanyama than we are on anybody else in the NBA? I mean, that's just sports. They do it in every sport. They compare, Patrick Mahomes to whomever, Fran Tarkenton and whoever. That's just the way people do things. And CJ, I'm sorry, that's the way it is. So let me ask you this, Sonia. You got here just in time I was talking about Dylan Brooks, the bad guy, the villain who plays against LeBron James a lot when they play each other. I was talking about legacies. LeBron, of course, will have unbelievable legacy. But attached to that legacy is going to be Dylan Brooks. He's the guy that irritated the guy who, LeBron, he could never stay with LeBron James. But he does have a small chapter in his book, right?
He definitely does have a small chapter in his book. Every Superman has a villain. You have to think of it like that. And I actually agree with CJ, though I'm so sick of the comparisons that have been going on. But like you said, Mac, I agree with you. It's just how we are. Like, it's just always going to be a comparison. If it's not in sports, it's in every aspect of life. If there's someone that's ever did something that you're going to do, or that someone else has done, there's going to be a great out there according to someone else's opinion, and you're going to be compared to that great. It's the same as, okay, in the NFL, we see Tom Brady. Now we're seeing Patrick Mahomes. It could be someone goes down the street and builds the grandest house in your neighborhood, and then the next person's going to come along and build a house, and you're going to be like, oh, is their house going to be as grand as that other person's? It's just the way we are as humans. There's always a standard of comparison. There's always going to be a measuring stick, so to speak. I mean, I know you guys use that, kind of funny. It's going to be a measuring stick. And so that's just how it is in life as a whole. But Dylan Brooks definitely is going to have a chapter, I think a significant amount of writing, of verbiage, or literature in the LeBron chapter, because he has been that arch nemesis the entire time. He is the Joker to Batman. And so you cannot mention at this point in LeBron, in the career we're in now, Dylan Brooks has come out in the twilight years of LeBron's career. And so you cannot mention when wrapping up LeBron as a whole, you cannot mention LeBron without mentioning Dylan Brooks.
I would agree with that. Looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers after the last couple of years, they have a good team, almost a very good team, but it seems they come up short in the playoffs. They did this year, they did last year against the Knicks. And it looks like to me, from what I'm reading, understanding, there's going to be some moves here at the Cleveland Cavaliers. If it's not Mitchell, I've heard rumors about him going back to the Knicks. That popped up again. His cohort in the backcourt, the point guard, I think it's Gertie, if I'm not mistaken, is also, if Devon Mitchell stays, he may have them going. They may get rid of one of their bigs. They may get rid of Mobley, or they may get rid of Jared Allen. I mean, and the head coach might be on the hot seat too. You might see a totally different, well, at least a halfway different Cleveland Cavaliers team next year, James. And I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, but you can't keep going to the first round and losing, especially in today's NBA.
Well, Cleveland they've jump-started themselves by doing well in the draft and making some trade acquisitions by adding a star power like Donovan Mitchell. I don't think you get rid of a Donovan Mitchell. In order to do well or to contend, you have to add to the team. You have to add more star power. Unfortunately, just like the Knicks, they had some unfortunate injuries. I mean, a player like Jared Allen, Jack will tell you, he always talks about how Jared Allen was a key component or cog to that team to run that team successfully, to the amount of wins that they were able to sustain. But they met their limit. I mean, they even had injuries to their star at some point in the season where he came back. He did well, but just wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough. And there's even some rumblings or some rumors in regards to sending Jared Allen down to the Pelicans. I saw those rumors there as well. You just don't know, right? At the point right now, I think this is the end of the season. Everybody's talking about what they want to do. I think in my own personal, humble, honest opinion is that you should keep Donovan Mitchell. He is a star, and you build around him. Maybe bring in another star. This is the problem what LeBron had when he was there in Cleveland. No one wants to come to Cleveland. No star wants to go there and play. Even LeBron couldn't get stars there. It was lucky enough to get Kevin Love, and they drafted a Kyrie Irving there. So it was a good situation for him coming back there, and obviously allowing them to go to 4 championships, winning one of 4. And I just really think you build from ground up. It's hard to do, not the easiest thing to do, but you got a star right now. Build around him and go from there.
So Scott, it looks like Clespie.
Yep.
Am I saying it right?
Scott
Clespie. Well, he says Knicks are a walking mash unit. They're not no longer a walking mash unit. They're not in anymore. It couldn't happen to a better fan base. And you are correct. The Knicks have the most fan base in the NBA. They've waited years for that to happen, and now it has happened. And they'll be back next year with a lot more fever.
I'm a little tardy for the party on that because Mac, I thought your Knicks, were going to go all the way and everything. And, I did express condolences to you and you were like, well, hey, it's good to be a Knicks fan. I guess it's better than a Hornets or a Hawks, but right, CJ?
Well, listen,
I agree.
I'm proud. I am very proud of how the Knicks played throughout injuries. I think Tom Thibodeau probably should have got Coach of the Year for keeping that team, getting to the 2nd seed. Nobody expected that. Getting to the semifinals. Nobody probably expected that. One man, Jalen Brunson, just tore up a couple teams in the playoffs. I mean, I'll take that any year. I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see what the Knicks did this year. So anyway, and welcome to Robert and Scott. Love your comments. Keep them coming. And of course, Rick. Always a pleasure having you on this show. Bronny James, kind of in the news. And a couple NBA executives said that, he's an NBA caliber player. All right. And that he should be on any team's top 100. Well, listen, if it takes you to get to player 100 before you draft Bronny James, that won't happen for another few years. So I don't understand why people are continually push Bronny James. Let Bronny James go in the draft, see where he goes. As CJ says, let him try to become a good NBA player, see how long it lasts. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, who knows. I don't wish the kid any ill will. It's kind of hard being in one of the greatest basketball players of all time shadow. But listen, maybe he becomes a decent player. Maybe he's a good sixth man or whatever. Listen, if the kid wants to play basketball, play basketball. Why should anybody say? But stop prepping him up. LeBron, be quiet about Bronny. All these other people, be quiet about Bronny. Just let him do his thing, right?
Thank you. What did I say before? Okay, what did I say before? I said let's let these players come into the league and carve out their own niche. I mean, if they're in the league 10, 15 years and you want to compare them to MJ and you want to compare them to LeBron and you want to compare them to Walt and Larry Bird and whoever, that's what they're going to do. The kid's not even out of the womb yet, and already he's being compared to MJ or LeBron.
That's crazy.
I mean, like the same thing's happening to Bronny James. I mean, the dude, like, he had cardiac arrest. It's like just him being able to play, no matter where he's selected, no matter where he's drafted, and being able to take the field, sort of like DeMar Hamlin. All right, and I'm not a Bills fan. I freaking hate the Bills. Okay, but I got a lot of respect for DeMar Hamlin because despite the fact of him having a cardiac arrest on the field, he still walked back out on that field and played again. Bronny's trying.
Well, he kind of played. With all due respect to Lamar Hamlin, he kind of played. Even when he was on a couple of kickoff returns, he went in maybe one tackle. I mean, it's not like he was starting or nothing. And again, all due respect, the man went back on the field again and did what he could. I don't even think he's with the Bills anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure, but
no.
Anyway,
he's gone.
Yeah, I think that with the Patriots or somewhere. I
thought he wanted to go to Pittsburgh. So you're saying the Patriots?
Yeah. I think you're right. He wanted to go to the Steelers, but it was something. The fact that of how he left the Bills, I think there was a story about him not showing any respect or something like that to them.
Yep.
But anyway, regarding Bronny, I just really don't think he should come out this soon. He's not really showing everything he's showing right now. Because I know he said the statement about not wanting to come out. He wants to come out from his father's shadow. He wants to kind of go in his own lane. It doesn't work like that. LeBron James is your father. You averaged 4 points in college, whether you had a heart issue or not. These are the facts. So you coming into the league and potentially being drafted, whether it be first round or second round, it has everything to do with your father. It has everything to do with the influence of LeBron James. That is what it is. And some team's going to say either we get him and maybe tempt LeBron to come into our team, like we're talking about maybe Atlanta, somewhere where they pick him, or the Lakers are probably going to pick him. But I've heard that some scouts are saying that he's not an NBA player, that he's not good at this level right now. He's not great as a shooter. He's 6'1" and a half. So he's not really a true point guard because he doesn't play point guard. He's more of a shooting guard, but he's not great, and he's not tall enough to be. He's not as great of a shooter, and he's not tall enough to be a true shooting guard. So he's a tweener. So he's not really set up to be. I mean, he's not a point guard. He doesn't lead.
Listen. There were a lot of 6'0" point guards. There were a lot of 6-0 shooters in the league. He's just not at an NBA level. I agree with that right now. He hasn't played enough. The guy just hasn't played enough, and I still think the reason why he's going into the NBA right now is because they're ticked off at USC, and there's a whole story behind that. But anyway, good luck to the kid. I wish him nothing but luck. You know what I mean? So, let's talk a little NFL. Justin Jefferson, it's his contract year. He's not in OTAs right now. He'll probably take all the Minnesota mentions off his social media site like they all do now when they want to trade. Jax thinks he's on a contract. If he doesn't want to play, don't play, take money away from him. I think that's ridiculous. I think if you have somebody like Justin Jefferson, you're either going to pay him or you're going to trade him and get some value for him, from one or the other. What do you think, CJ? What do you think, Sonia?
I think he comes back. Minnesota is going to be looking to try to bring back as many people as they possibly can to try to rebuild that very competitive NFC North. I do not think that there's going to be an issue at all. There's a couple of other players out there that are also, T. Higgins is one of them, holding out for OTAs and what have you. OTAs are not mandatory. It's not like, you have to be there. We see this every year with different players basically holding out, including Jordan Love with the Packers is waiting as well on his unresolved contract. But he, is still, he's actually at OTAs or what have you. But this is nothing new. We'll go through this again every single year with players trying to negotiate their contracts, some holding out, some not holding out. This is just where the rubber meets the road, as they say. And like I said, the NFC North is going to be ultra competitive this next season. So if they value him, and I'm sure they do value him, then they're going to make sure they write the checks that their butts can cash.
Well, he only played 10 games last year, still went over 1,000 yards, one of the first, I think it was the first ever wide receiver to do that. Extremely talented. But again, who's going to throw to him, CJ? Who's going to throw to Justin Jefferson this year? You got the quarterback from the Jets and Panthers, and I forget where else he played, 49ers, Sam Darnold, or you got the rookie, J.J. McCarthy's going to be throwing to him. I mean, his stats might take a hit for that.
I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that ends up shaking out there. But look, let's wait for training camp, and let's a lot of stories are coming in from OTAs, and especially about the fact with Justin Jefferson. They made a big deal about the fact that he went to Jersey, and apparently where he went to Jersey was a stone's throw away from the Jets facility. And then all of a sudden, all these rumors came out with, Justin Jefferson's going to the Jets. He's got a secret meeting with them. No, he doesn't. The Minnesota Vikings owner lives in Jersey. Okay, that's why he probably went out there. To go have a steak, go take a dip in the pool. Apparently the time that he was out there, it was beautiful. It was like 80s, 90s, beautiful weather. Probably sat by the pool, had a couple of drinks, had a couple of T-bone steaks, and then they talked that contract. I wouldn't worry about it. I really would not worry about it.
I wouldn't either. Big question. Does James, we talked about this, does Sam Darnold start against the Jets in London? And does he throw a last drive touchdown to beat the Jets? The Jet fans would go crazy. They would go crazy, James.
Yeah.
He's not going to see the light of day on the field. I don't think he'll get to put he's going to have splinters in his behind because he's going to be sitting on the bench. He's not gonna be able to get on the field. The kid who got drafted, J.J. McCarthy, is going. And I'm just telling you right now, the Vikings are in rebuild mode. So why not? Why would you put a guy that was drafted number 3 overall, number 1 overall, Sam Darnold?
3.
No, he was in the first round. Yeah,
he was first round. He was top 3. Yeah. He's had no success. I mean, you get him. I think he ultimately is there to back up J.J. McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy is there to throw to Justin Jefferson. So, and Justin Jefferson, going back to him, I wanted to, chime in on that. He's on his 5th-year option. They make 5th-year options for a reason, just so they can build and pay other guys, free agents, and have money to spare to spend on other players. He's on a 5th-year option. If he chooses not to play, he's going to get fined. And so he'll probably, for $19 million, you're taking out X amount of dollars per game. I'm going to come back out and play. So, I mean, they're going to maybe call his bluff, I think. Now, will you pay him? I'd pay him. And he's probably going to be the highest paid wide receiver. So, I mean, all of this right now, I think it's just bluff. And they're probably going to end up paying him, but they may just stand pat and make sure he plays on his 5th-year option. But I think Minnesota won't win many games this year, and they may not beat the Jets.
And maybe so. And CJ, I didn't know you dipped in the bacon. I wasn't aware. Scott, thanks for filling us in on CJ's eating habits. Go ahead, Sonia. I knew you were going to say something.
I was just like, that is so funny that he's like poking and prodding CJ. And Robert brings up a good comment. CeeDee Lamb is also holding out, and I think it is going to be a competition thing to see which one of them gets paid what. You know, right now we're at this thing that almost the NFL has the U.S. Mint in their backyard. They're just making money, and so it's almost like astronomical numbers that we've never seen. Like, oh, this person's getting a never seen before deal in NFL history for quarterback or for running back or for wide receiver. So this is going to be the same thing. And when players see that and they're only bringing home, you know, $300,000 a year after taxes, and they're like, wait a minute, I could be making so much more because I'm breaking records. That's, you know, what Jefferson could say. And so, you know, they're holding out. But then you got clowns like Michael Penix Jr., who was getting sued by Fanatics because he doesn't want to release the sale of his jersey, and they've been paying him since last year, even with his college jersey. So it's always about money. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Sonia, I love your impersonation of whoever that was. I mean, Jack likes to do that a lot too. I hope he didn't rub off on you, please.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, he was just on my show Tuesday and took over. You know, I barely got a word in. Let's be clear. I had like 10 questions for him. I only got 2 because he just went on.
Yes. I know that well. You gotta be firm with Jack. I mean,
I can't.
3 years dealing with me, got it, Sonia. That's the only way to get anything else inward, or else you'll be talking about something that you didn't even bring up, which normally.
Yeah, we started talking about assault rifles.
See?
It was crazy.
See? That's what I'm talking about, Jack. I didn't know he liked rifles, but anyway.
He was talking about laws. He was talking about laws and rights breaking more laws.
He is also. I don't know if you all know this. He is also our safety monitor on the network. He's always talking about the safety of players as he writes about a sport where people actually, you know, beat the hell out of each other. So it's a very interesting time to have with Jack. So the NFL is thinking about, and probably will in the future, have NFL games in Australia. And I think that's great. I think Australia is a very rough and tumble place. They have rugby, they have Australian football, which is a big draw. And I think that's another thing that will happen pretty soon. It's a long trip, I'll tell you that, to Australia. And you know, I guess they would have to get a week ahead or whatever. I don't even know what the time difference is over there. But anyway, to me, it's a smart move. The NFL keeps expanding worldwide, at least with the NFL and the players and games there, to bring in, Sonia, more money, right? That's what this is all about. So there you go.
It'll be worldwide for real.
Yes, worldwide. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, Simone Biles. An interesting take on people on Twitter. She shouldn't answer these people because it just gives them fuel. I guess they are disrespecting her husband, calling him Mr. Biles. And, you know, and Sonia's loving every minute of this. But the point is that when you're married to a very, very popular woman, whether it's Simone Biles, if a guy married Caitlin Clark, or, you know, Serena Williams' husband, if he's out there, her husband happens to be, I think, a defensive back for the Packers, if I'm not mistaken. Jonathan Owens is his name. I know he's on one of the teams on the NFC North anyway. But, you know, that's the way it is. If somebody's going to marry Sonia, you know how popular she is on the network now, they're probably going to call him Mr. Pearson. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So, anyway, anybody have any problems with that? I mean, them calling him Mr. Biles. CJ is old school. He would have problems with that. I mean, I think he would be upset.
Too.
Yes, Sonia knows.
I would too. I mean, I'm traditional when it comes to marriages and stuff like that. People may say even, biblical, but the husband is supposed to be the head. I'm sorry to get, spiritual, but it's just my understanding. But there is a legal right now when you go, at least in Georgia, when you apply for a marriage license, they ask you which one of you all are changing your last name. So it has been, even amongst regular people, at least in Georgia, I've seen the application. It'll be like, will the husband be changing his name or will the wife be changing hers? And that all boils down to this whole equal rights across the board. But I wouldn't want my husband being called Mr. Pearson. I mean, I might joke about it and be like, I'm just XYZ. But at the end of the day, I would, at a minimum, hyphenate my name. I would make sure they get due respect. And let's face it, he is an NFL player. He's not some Joe Blow off the street that no one knows who he is. He's very well known and very well respected. And so Simone is rightly upset about this. Unfortunately, she has very little power to control how people, perceive or speak on things. But at least she's put it out there, like, hey, this is my husband. It's kind of like Beyonce and Jay-Z, to bring in another comparison. They're both music moguls. A lot of people have said Beyonce is way more above the level of Jay-Z. And at the same day, they make it work. So it's just something we see when we see celebrities, nonetheless, whoever they are, commingle and become a couple. It's just who we are. I mean, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, of course, Mr. Swift. Who knows?
James, you agree with that?
To some degree, yes. Guys, in regards to you guys mentioning like the biblical portion of a man and wife and stuff like that, yes. I think the man deserves respect, but on the other token, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the status level in regards to Simone Biles here. She's at a high level. I'll be honest with you. I love football. I didn't know who this guy was before he was with her. Same. I'm like, who is this dude? Okay, so in reality to that, you have to have tough skin. And I would be telling my wife, hey, I don't need you speaking up for me. Let them have that. That's what's going on. That's what comes with the territory for me, just making a decision to marry someone with your status. I mean, she's up there. She's at the high level. I'm still not gonna remember this. I'll be honest with you. Until I just looked it up, I forgot his name. I have to be honest. And just what it is. It's what comes with the territory. You have to have tough skin and just deal with it, because people are going to troll you, and they're probably going to troll even more so the fact that she came out and was upset about this. I'll be behind closed doors saying, don't say anything. Just let it be. It is what it is.
Okay.
Brittany Mahomes tried to come out and have Patrick's back, and that was ugly with some fans.
Yeah.
So Robert says something that's a good point. You can keep your last name. To me, if my wife wanted to keep her last name, I would say we don't get married. That's just me. But it's more on which one does the kid get. And I would imagine if you're old-fashioned, the kid's going to get the father's name. That's just the way it's going to be. Sonia had the right response, putting a hyphen in there. A lot of people do that just to recognize that they are married or with somebody, anyways, that to me, that's probably being an elite star in any profession. That's probably why people do that. The Giants are going to be on Hard Knocks. Now, this is a different Hard Knocks. A different Hard Knock. It's already filmed. It's already edited. It's already scheduled for a release July 6th. It has nothing to do with Daniel Jones. It has nothing to do with Saquon Barkley leaving. It has to do with the front office. So what they did was they started filming when they were talking to players at the Senior Bowl. Then they were filming them at the Combine. They were in the draft room with Shohan and DeBall. They were part of their free agency, them going through lists. I don't know if they got them talking to players or not. So the Hard Knocks has gone in a different direction. Is this going to be popular For Giant fans, maybe. I don't even know if I will watch it because it's, maybe I'll watch the draft room episode because that does intrigue me. But, I mean, do you think the NFL fans across the country are going to want to watch something like that, CJ?
Yeah, of course they will. Because if someone has an interest in it, they're going to go ahead and watch it. I mean, I didn't watch it firsthand when the Jets were on Hard Knocks. I watched a lot of the replays, but I do have to say one thing. I was impressed by the behind the scenes. I loved seeing Robert Saleh just get completely raw and just uncut about what actually goes on in behind the scenes. And they didn't pull any punches. So, I mean, look, it all depends on whether or not teams are actually going to be transparent or if it's just going to be a circus show.
Yeah, right. I heard maybe in 2030 or 35, they might have the Carolina Panthers on there.
We've already been on there. We've already been on there.
Again, with Bryce Young, I'm talking about. That might happen again.
Did you really hear that, Mac?
No.
Did you really hear that, though? Because in 10 years, I don't know what's going to be. I don't even know if we'll still have our franchise, because if it doesn't get better this year, they got to bring the revenue in. They've threatened to sell the team once before. It's not that far removed that could very well be a reality again. And we were on Hard Knocks, and we, with Cam, and I actually still have that show, DVR. I loved it. But we don't need to go in our front office, because all they're going to do is be showing a slow motion of Tepper tossing drinks.
Right.
I would be interested to see, him cursing people out and stuff. That probably really happens.
Well, speaking of curses, right? I mean, the curse of Hard Knocks is a real thing. Coaches have been fired. Way back when the Baltimore Ravens were defending their Super Bowl, their running back, I don't have his name in front of me right now, pretty famous running back, ended up hurting out for the season. Ocampo the following year with the Dallas Cowboys got fired. Aaron Rodgers last year, he gets hurt. He's out for the season. I mean, this thing keeps coming up and up and up, and I'm interested to see what will happen to the Giants. If the Giants have another bad year, does the ball get fired? Is Bill Belichick waiting on the sidelines for something like this to happen? I mean, it's very interesting to me. A lot of people don't believe in curses, but if you keep saying example after example for the last 23 years now, how can you deny it doesn't exist? So,
you guys can't get no worse, though. You can't get any worse unless you're 2-15.
That's truth. That is the truth. Talking about fans, how does it feel to be a Raider fan? I mean, if you really think about it, the Raider fans, with all their moves, they moved to Los Angeles, they stuck with them. They moved to Las Vegas, they stuck with them. And it's the old-fashioned, pirates and the black on their faces and the uniforms they dress in. I mean, what other fans would stick with your team through all this? I mean, they pretty much, the owner, pretty much both owners, father and son, both basically said screw you to the fans in Oakland. And when they went to of course, Los Angeles, I mean, it's too big of a stadium for them to fill. Now they go out to Vegas. And I mean, when do you, as a fan, say enough? I gotta support somebody else. What do you think, Sonia?
I know 2 Raiders fans personally from the Oakland area, and both of them were irate. Even when I remember going to Vegas when they first broke ground on the construction site, and I was out there videoing and sending them like, "Hey, look, Rosa," and then my other friend as well. I was like, "Look," and they were like, "Listen, why are you looking happy in the video?" I was like, because this is where you're new. They were like, no one wants to drive through the desert. No one wants to make that desert trip to go to a game. That was supposed to be our team. That was, Oakland is who made that team. And now they're gone. Now, we do see fans that make the trip. We see that over time it has kind of gotten a little better. That first year, it was blazing. I still have those pictures when they were just putting up the infrastructure. And even last year, when I had a chance to visit Vegas again, the stadium is beautiful. I think the black is hard. It's just gangster. I love it. But Raiders fans have kind of still stuck in there But in the team moving to Las Vegas, now you've got new fans because you've gotten fans from the Nevada area. So you've gotten a conglomerate of a group of fans that merged basically the two cities of the desert, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah,
CJ,
it was pretty hard.
The Giants and Jets moved to Jersey. Can you imagine if they decided they're going to move down to Maryland next? I mean, what do you think with the Giants and Jets fans? Don't you think that they would be a little upset? I don't know if you can hear me or not. CJ picks the greatest times to take off his headphones, folks. I mean, maybe a fly guy. I don't know what happened.
My headphones died. Sorry about that, folks.
That's right. So as I was saying, the Giants and the Jets moved to Jersey. Can you imagine if they moved down to D.C. or some other state? Would the Giants and Jet fans still be as loyal as they are now?
I don't think so. No. I think that just I think that if the Giants or the Jets were to leave New Jersey, all right, I think that there would be just I really don't. I see the loyal fan, like those that have been there since the franchise's beginnings. I could see those being in probably coming through it. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, I think that if the Giants or the Jets were to actually go ahead and to leave and say move to like a DC, or I remember there was once the Jets were going to be bought by Anheuser-Busch and they were going to move to St. Louis.
Right.
You know, it's I don't know. It to me, I think it would be very, very complicated if the Giants or the Jets were to move. Now, that being said, do I see the Jets or the Giants moving? The only place I see them moving is out of New Jersey and into New York. I see them eventually. I see them within the next 5 to 10 years. Something is going to get done where either the Mara family or the Johnsons, they're finally going to get together and they're going to be like, you know what? We don't want to be at MetLife anymore. We don't want to be here. We want our own spot. The Giants are probably going to be like, you know what? We want our own building. We're tired of sharing the building with the Jets. The Jets are already saying that they're tired of sharing the building with the Giants. So somewhere probably within the next 5 to 10 years, the Jets and the Giants are going to be separated. And I think they're both going to be somewhere in New York. Personally, for me, I wouldn't mind the Jets going to Long Island. Because you know what, you still got the ground over there from the old Nassau Coliseum, which is still there, from what I understand. Now, personally, it wouldn't be a bad Meadowlands Swamp's known for the stadium. Yeah, everybody over there, nobody wants to leave because Jimmy Hoff is buried in the northeast corner of the home team.
Mobsters.
You know, CJ, I don't know how old this guy is. The Giants and Jets were in New York before they went to Jersey, Robert. They played in Yankee Stadium. They played in Shea Stadium. They played in the Polo Grounds, if you want to go back to the beginning. So I don't know what this guy is talking about. So anyway, J.R. Brower, good to have you on, Jay. If the Jets ever move, I would have to let go unless they move back to New York, which CJ was saying. Thanks for joining us, JR. I'm glad you stopped into the show. 5 free agents, guys, that could start and make an impact on any team if they were to go there. The first, of course, is Ayuka, who plays for the 49ers. He's in the last year of his contract. That's TJ Higgins, another wide receiver. If he's healthy, he's good. He hasn't been healthy that much the last couple of years. The safety for the Dallas Cowboys, Javon Curse, who is a very good safety. He could start on another team if he was moved. Believe it or not, Najee Harris. There's a possibility that he might leave next year. The power back from Pittsburgh. So some big names there, 4 free agents that could go to any team if healthy, could be instant starters. I know the Panthers would love to get them. The Giants
All
would
of
love
them.
to get them. And so would the Saints. So what do you think of those 4 people? Who stays? Is it Javon Curse with the Cowboys, the CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak still being needed to sign? Is it a Ayuk with the 49ers who thinks he should get a big payday? Is it T. Higgins who wants a big payday, but again, he's been hurt a lot? So what do you guys think? Start with you, James. Do any of these 4 players leave, including Najee Harris? Sorry, those 5 players. Do any of those leave their team?
Najee Harris is going to stay. He's still on the rookie deal, and they can still use him a 1-2 punch with the other the Jalen. I forgot the other kid's name. He came up. He had like a 6.5 average per carry, and Najee had his best average since his rookie year. I think 4.1. And I still think he's formidable, and they're going to need him with the quarterback situation and their new transition. Higgins is probably likely the player to get ousted because he's been average at best, I think, and he's a number 2. He's not a number 1. Jamar Chase is the number 1 receiver there. Higgins is good. He's not great. He's not great, and I think he wants great money. So this is a player I think could be out the door and going to another team. Will he benefit another team? Yes, I think he'll benefit another team, but he's not a number 1 receiver. Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk stays. Debo gets hurt, and Brandon Ayuk had a great year, and I know he wants the money. I think they're going to try to pay him, but I don't think he's someone to get traded at this point. I think they keep him, and they call his bluff and stays there and plays out his season.
Good evening, Oli. Sorry, James. Good evening, Oli. How you doing today? We're all doing great. Let me give CJ the floor here. We got a couple conference finals coming up between the Rangers and the Panthers, and the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. CJ, how do you think these 2 series play out, and why?
Well, I'm going to make it quick because we only got about 3 minutes left in the show. So Rangers, Panthers, just basically a lot of people are not showing the Rangers any respect in this series. I think that is a giant mistake, but that's okay. I would love for the Panthers and Panther fans to find out the hard way. I still think New York Rangers in 7. Don't be surprised on the over and under. If I'm picking 2.5. All right, so over 2.5 games of these, over 2.5 games of this 7-game series goes to overtime. It goes to at least 1 overtime. So I'm picking the over. A lot of people have not even bothered to talk about it, but it's definitely going to come down to a goaltending battle between Igor and Sergei Bobrovsky. I'm sorry, I gotta tip my hat to Igor. This is not being a homer. This is being percentage points, and I get it. Everybody's jumping on the Panther bandwagon because they're the reigning Eastern Conference champions. As far as I'm concerned, and this is no disrespect to Panther fans out there, but y'all had to win 10 straight games in order to make it to the playoffs last year, and y'all caught lightning in a bottle. So, and I think y'all are still feeling on that. So it's okay. It's going to be a very interesting and a very tough series against 2 battle-hardened teams, and there's going to be a war in Manhattan. That being said, Western Conference, I picked Edmonton for the Western Conference Finals, so I'm pretty happy that they made it. Dallas is definitely going to be a huge challenge. I still think that Edmonton may come out on top on that in 7 games. I think that Dallas will just I think with them, it's with Dallas, I think with them, it's as long as their defense does not give up the bad goals and as long as they don't run out of gas. So I don't know, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl right now they're playing hot. So both conference finals definitely going 7 games. I'm still picking the over for 2.5 as far as games going to overtime. I personally would like to see Rangers Edmonton, but it wouldn't shock me if I see Rangers Dallas.
All right, CJ. I didn't play him his theme song. I don't know if he remembers this or not, or maybe he's not even heard it before, but it's very interesting. It's the hockey song. So
Hello out there, we're on the air. It's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice.
there you go. The
There we
hockey
go.
song. I know it's been around for a
So
long
you got to send that to me. Send that to me by email. I got to use that as my my ringtone.
I will. It's a good intro too. I used to use it all the time when we had our hockey guest updates. Anyways, folks, thanks for joining us. Great show. Thanks for all the likes, love, views. Love having you here. And listen, have a great Wednesday night, and we'll see you soon.